how that went. Okay, let me see. I never know how to add a title.
Oh, I don't know, because, you know, social media is not my thing.
It's not mine either, girl. It's not mine either.
But you do it so eloquently.
Well, thank you.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Mental health, college edition.
I'm going to tell Charles to check out your live.
Yes. Have him come and join. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I know it's gonna be good.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are talking today about mental health. Woo!
Child.
Yeah. But I definitely realized looking at my timeline, that a lot of people right now are going through stuff.
Yeah.
And
especially with COVID and everything, people been stuck in the house and family members been sick and everything, so for sure.
Yeah. And even with all that, just not knowing how to process it mentally, you know, and I realized how many people may be struggling. And, you know, you think like when you get into a better space mentally, you start feeling like, well, you know, suck it up or move forward or be positive, you know? And it's like, but that's not the answer, you know? That's really not the answer. And hey, yeah, that's really not the answer.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk today about that. We don't have the answers because we're not no health experts and no mental health experts. We're not doctors, so do not take anything that we say for clinical advice because that is not our job.
Full disclosure.
Okay, full disclosure. But we just wanted to come and kind of tell our story and hopefully inspire some people to understand that you ain't the only one going through it. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was, had you ever experienced depression or anxiety prior to college?
Yeah, you know, high school is hard. Not as college hard, but it's hard in general. People be mean, you know, you got your regular old bullies, you got everybody who think they better than everybody, all of that stuff, trying to make friends and fit in and stuff in high school was like the whole world. So definitely at a point, I remember like in 10th grade, I had gotten into a little bit of trouble. And so behind that trouble that I had gotten into, I had lost literally like 2/3 of my friends because I was in drama and I was in band. So like I lost all of my friends in drama because the trouble I had gotten into was in the drama class and the teacher was petty and she was telling everybody about it. And so they all knew. And then I fell out with all of my friends from band too because of something else somebody like framed me for doing. And so because of that, you know, I lost like a bunch of my friends all in the same day. And I'm grounded at that, so I didn't find out until I had to go back to school the following Monday because it was a Friday. So when I got back, you know, nobody was talking to me, and I was like, what's going on? And so that kind of sent me in this little downward spiral for a little bit.
So people just up and stopped talking to you?
Like, yeah, a little bit. So like basically in 10th grade, I plagiarized a paper. Right? Not my finest moment, but 10th grade. And so because of that, I was in the drama class, all my drama friends kind of was like talking down at me or like, I can't believe she did that. And then somebody had framed me because the guy I was dating at the time, high school, was in band, right? But we had long since broken up. He was even dating somebody else. Like I was cool with it. It didn't matter. But somebody had apparently called this new girl and was like threatening her and saying that it was me. And apparently she had like, they left a voicemail or something. And so they had like a voicemail recording, but I didn't know the girl personally. I just know that that's something that had happened. And it all happened in the same day. So like the day they found me out for plagiarism and the day that this girl came out with this voicemail or whatever, all happened in the same day. So everybody was like, oh my gosh, she out here threatening people. Oh my gosh, she plagiarizing papers. And so like
I had like look like a problem child.
Yeah, a little bit. And so like I said, I had gotten grounded for plagiarizing the paper. So I didn't like I knew about it because my mom let me call my friend who she like literally was blowing up my phone. And so my mom let me call her and she kind of told me what was going on, but me and her fell out too. behind it because she had heard the voicemail. And so that's when I found out, but I didn't realize the severity of everything until I got back to school on Monday because I couldn't see nobody. And so, like I said, like I lost all of like 2/3 of my friends. So all my friends in band, and then all of my friends in drama, like stopped messing with me altogether.
Wow.
For one thing or another.
I think it's so interesting how when we younger, friends are so important.
Yes.
And I don't know about for you, but I won't say they're not important, but they're not as important because as an adult now you're trying to focus on your own responsibilities. But in high school, that's what you have.
Yeah.
The social aspect, being in school, being around people. Wow. So you lost friends. You were already doing something. Well, you had done something that made you feel bad already. And then you on punishment. Yeah.
Like, I couldn't win for losing at that point. Because my mom was like, oh, you losing your friends? That's fine, but you still... The nerve.
The nerve.
How dare you?
The nerve. Look at Justin talking about, not Jay. Hey, Justo. Dang. Okay, so all that was going on. And how did you realize that you were sort of, was it depression that you're experiencing or?
I would say it was probably because I was like constantly sad. Because, you know, in like high school, you have the same exact schedule every day. You know, you can't not go to class like you could in college. You can choose not to, you know, skip a day. High school, you can't really do that without consequence. So, like, in those classes where those friends were, usually, you know, like, I would have, like, my friends I would be sitting with, laughing and kicking with. It was really awkward because we had assigned seats, so I was sitting next to these friends that wasn't even talking to me. So, it's like everybody around me having a conversation, but I'm just sitting here like, okay.
That is the worst.
Yeah, so it was. So, I think that kind of added to it. Like, being home was cool because my mom, after a certain point in time or whatever, like, she was disappointed at first, but I think she was okay because I told her about it before I let an administrator call her and tell her about it. So she was a little more like, all right, cool, like, you opened up and you talked to me about what you did, da da da. So, like, I feel like a week or two being at home was cool. You know, my mama can't stay mad for too long. Glad she don't follow you on live.
All right.
She don't stay mad for too long. So home life was fine, but like at school, that's where like everything seemed like it was crumbling. Cause like I said, everything was just weird because all of my friends and stuff. So I realized like going to school genuinely made me sad. After a while, like I didn't want to be there. And then of course like that bled into just like my overall being, and I didn't want to be here. And so I think that that's kind of when I realized that I was at that point.
Wow. That is almost like it's not even a transition period in between. You don't see where you go from being sad to I don't want to be here. You know? And because you can't even see that transition, how do you even see that you're going through it?
You don't know that. You don't know how to stop it. You don't know how to catch it or anything like that.
Wow. Just thinking about it that way, because when you're going through it, you don't realize that there's an end to it. You know, if you're not clinically depressed or you know seeking mental help behind it, you kind of just process it as it's just an emotion. You know, I'm just sad or I'm just upset or you know like maybe I'm moody. You know, as opposed to there may be something going on deeper than that, deeper than emotions. Wow. So you experienced this in high school. Okay. What were you thinking going into college?
Like you mean like after high school and like my first year of college and everything? I was like, oh my god, college party, boys, woo.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. In that order. So, you know, I was really excited because I was like, you know, college, of course, UGC wasn't my first choice, but like, it's okay because it was a college and it got me away from my family. So I got to experience that little taste of independence. So like, I ain't had nobody regulating what I did. I could go to class when I wanted to. I could go to bed when I wanted to. I could wake up 10 minutes before a class, brush my teeth and wear pajamas if I wanted to.
Right.
Like, like it was, college was the bomb. Like, I loved college, to be honest with you. It was so fun. If it didn't cost so much, I'd go back.
Girl, oh my gosh. I skip out on the test and going to class part.
No, I like learning. So, like, if it didn't cost so much, I would genuinely go back.
Really?
Yeah.
You take tests?
Yeah.
You do homework?
Yeah. Like, to be honest with you, my brother was doing homework one day, and I was like, dang, I kind of miss doing that. Girl. It scared me a little bit. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I was like, ooh, I gotta go upstairs and watch some TV.
Now, how you want to go back and do homework when you weren't doing homework when you were in college? And that's what you already know. You already know we getting into that.
Now we elevated. I'm ready to do all that work. I'm ready to do all the work I lied about doing before. I'm ready for it.
Girl, not a new chapter.
Yes, we close that chapter. We opening a whole new one, you know?
A whole new book.
I'm a quarter of a century old at this point. Like, I'm ready.
Girl, tell me about it. I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm turning 26. Don't say sheesh.
Whoops.
So, okay, you thinking college, you thinking boys, you thinking freedom. Boom. Okay, so this is different already, a different mindset than what you were experiencing in college. I mean, in high school. So we get to college. How'd it go?
So like my first, we'll catalog it. I'll make it easy. So like my first year of college was super easy. Like I was still doing good in school at this point. Like I had a 3 something GPA. I don't remember what it was, but like all my grades were top notch. I'm not gonna lie though, that first semester kind of scared me because that's when I realized, you know, college ain't like high school. You gotta actually study, do your work, and everything like that in order to get those good grades. It's not like how you can just look over the stuff right before class and boom, ace it. Like you have to actually put in that work. I actually almost ended up failing in my biology class, like 1101 behind that. But you know, I ended up pulling it around and I ended up getting an A. I made it from a D to an A, so that was good. But that was like my first taste of like real reality. It was like, sis, this ain't nothing like high school. You can't just wake up, walk into class, think you gonna guess on the test and manage a B out of it. You have to actually put in that work. So I think that it was good that I learned that early though, because otherwise things could have ended substantially worse. Like rather than like just messing up in a couple of classes here and there, it could have resulted in me like flunking out or something.
Yeah.
So
and we knew a lot of people that unfortunately had to leave school because they weren't making the grades that were acceptable to stay on campus or, you know, stay in school. So yeah, we were fortunate in that. But I do know that well, that's gonna be a whole nother topic. We're gonna be talking about that too at some point. Our different methods on how to do the work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was let me try to do a little bit of the assignment
we
as
be
time
mid
goes
party
on.
moment, and Joy be like, "Y'all, I can't come. I gotta go study for a test." And we be like, "Bruh, but we got the bottles, the music pumping, we got a little like we ready. What did you do?" And she be like, "No, I gotta go study. I got a test at 8 in the morning." But best believe when she was done studying, though, Joy be like, "All right, y'all still up? Y'all ready? Okay, we out here."
Balance.
Like, I wish I could balance like that because it was 0 to 100. Either I'm studying or I'm not.
Facts.
That's it.
That's true.
I read my notes on the way to the test.
Yeah. A lot of people was like that though, and I really felt left out.
Because I was not doing good. We were not passing, I promise.
Girl, I believe it.
It's so sad. Like, I'm laughing about failing all my tests. It's okay.
Listen,
I made it though.
It's real. So, all right. So college was going good. When did you start feeling like you were experiencing those same depressive episodes and anxiety?
Probably like the beginning of my junior year maybe. Because again, I went through a giant shift, kind of similar to the one that I described in high school. Losing a friend. Moment of silence for the silence. But yeah, so like I went through this shift of losing a friend. You know, a friend that was actually really close to me. Known the person for a while and stuff. So like that kind of really like took a toll on me. I didn't know how to process it. And so again, I kind of felt like I was in that same bubble of, things going beyond my control.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like when things are going beyond your control, you don't know how to cope with that sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. So that time around, did you know that you were experiencing that, or it was just
not until much later?
Mm-hmm.
So like it took probably until I want to say maybe April of the following year for me to realize.
Mm-hmm.
So April 2017, I think, is when I started to really realize that something went right.
Wow. So almost a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So when you realized it, was it the same, feelings, like you were feeling sad, or like how did you know it was happening?
At that point, I kind of usually reflected a lot on certain things. Like, I don't know, I'm really weird. I fixate on stuff sometimes. So like I would replay certain events or certain words or certain actions in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to a point where like I was replaying certain things and I was like, sis, this ain't healthy. I was like, something's not right. Like, something has to give. Like, this isn't healthy. You're not healthy. This is making you unhealthy. It would affect me being able to eat. It was affecting my sleep. Like, I would not go to sleep until maybe like 3-4 o'clock in the morning and have to turn around and be back up at like 7 because I had to, really 6 because I had to get ready for work and then get to work before class and everything. So like I was really moving on basically like 2-3 hours max of sleep, and that's if I slept at night, because some nights I didn't sleep at all.
Yeah.
And so and of course, like I said, it affected me eating. I maybe ate once a day. There was plenty of times where I forget to eat. And so it would be 9 o'clock at night and we mid party zone, and I'm trying to figure out why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling after like my second cup, and it's because I had eaten all day and I didn't think about it.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
And I want to say this because I don't even know if it seems like we knew each other. We didn't get that whole rundown, but like we went to college together.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how that's how we know each
That's
other.
my girl.
Right, that's my dog. So, we were like this.
Like thick as thieves.
Thick as thieves, 2 peas in the pot, and you just have that one person. I didn't even realize it was gonna fall. You have that one person that you can go to, and that's just down, down to do whatever. And that's how we were always for each other. And as close as we were and still are, we had no idea.
Not a clue.
Not a clue that either of us was going through these things, because right now she's telling her story, but I have a story too. So just the fact that we were that close and we didn't even realize it, that's why I wanted to have this conversation. Sorry, my screen keep going black, but that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because there may not always be pinpointed signs that you can tell somebody is going through something. And it was important for me to sort of shed light on the fact that you can seem completely okay and not be okay. And so it's important to treat people well. It's important to treat yourself well. So back to this.
Yes, ma'am.
So did anybody else know you were experiencing it? Brings me to my next question.
Yes. Your screen went blank.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, yes and no. I'll say that, because the person that I did confide in and the person that I did tell, I told them, but not the severity of it all. So like I told them, like I was experiencing trouble sleeping, or like I really wasn't eating too much. I guess I should have really known that it was a sign when I was giving away my freaking, what was that money that we used to eat?
Oh,
the munch money.
Yeah,
I mean, buying
dining dollars and stuff.
I'm using that at Starbucks, getting folks stuff like, hey, I'm at Starbucks, you want a frappe? First of all, I only got like 100 of them, so why am I sharing? That was my first, that should have been my first like little thing. But I was experiencing, like I was telling them about the stuff that I was experiencing, and I told them a little bit of how I was feeling when I was feeling it, or like things that didn't quite make sense to me in the certain situations. So, like, you know, that was the person that I did choose to confide in because I felt like that was a safe space. So, yeah.
So, you're confiding in somebody, but you weren't saying the full details.
No, I normally don't ever. So, like, it's really hard for me to tell everybody everything. Or, like, one person everything. Like, what I do is I tell people the parts of the story that I know they can handle. Because if I'm dealing with, like, something, I don't want me to tell you the full picture and then you try to push me to do something that I'm not yet ready to do.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was the unhealthy thought in me, because it's like, if I told you, like, hey, I'm really upset and I'm really sad by this, it's making me feel like this, and it's making me feel like I want to do this to myself, I knew that was going to lead somebody to force me to get help. And that wasn't something that I was ready to deal with.
Wow. It's crazy because I never even knew that you felt that way, as far as why you kind of told your story in stages. And I think it's so interesting that you say it was because you didn't want anybody to persuade you to get help. Why didn't you want anybody to persuade you to get help?
Because that means that I had to answer questions that I wasn't ready to.
Yes.
So, like, one thing I'll never do is I never ask questions. Even now, it's probably still a bad habit from back then, but I don't ask questions that I don't want to know the answers to. And so, again, like, if I don't ask questions of others that I don't want to know the answers to, I'm not going to ask those questions of myself. Your screen's going black. I'm not going to ask those questions of myself, right? And so I felt like that was going to make me have to be open and honest and vulnerable with myself, and I wasn't ready for that type of vulnerability. And then I also realized that those people that were my friends, like you included, those people that told me that, like, that I considered friends, people that cared about me, that was going to cause them a certain sense of worry. And I did not want that, because we in college and everybody got their own stuff to worry about. And so I kept telling myself at this particular time, you know, I was elevated enough to tell myself that things was going to be okay. But that's all I had, was me telling myself that. Like, I would pray every so often, of course, and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was really me just telling myself, like, you gonna get through this. You just gotta take it one day at a time. Some days are worse than others. Some days are better than others. But
yeah,
I just didn't want to have to. I wasn't ready to open up and answer those questions yet, or even talk about the stuff.
Wow. Do you think that what you were thinking as far as I'll get through this helped you, regardless if you weren't telling anybody these are the details? It kind of gave you a protective layer on top of that. Oh, I don't want to tell anybody, but I'm going to be okay. Kind of balance.
A little bit, yeah. Because, like, it was something that I had to keep telling myself, because in the beginning when I was doing it, I didn't believe it. So, like, it was, to be honest with you, like, it was between me telling myself and then, like, my little sister. Because, honestly, I've always said that I'd never leave her here if I can help it, and have her grow up wondering, like, why I left her, you know? So, like, and then especially then, because she was so young. So, like, and it was like, my sister is literally like my firstborn child. So, like, you know, I could never, like, purposely tear myself away from her. So it was really just me telling myself that I was going to be okay, even though I did not believe it at first. It was something that I had to grow to trust myself in. I read this thing once, side note, that your voice is, like, your subconscious will trust your voice the most, because it grew up hearing that voice. So it's the voice that are most soothed. So, like, when you say certain things out loud, you're more apt to believe it coming from your own self than from others. So, like, that's where I guess that started with me constantly saying out loud, like, you're going to be good. You're going to be okay.
Sort of like a mantra.
Yeah, kind of sort of like a mantra, yeah. And so then and besides that, it was, like, really, like, think of Zoe. So, like, honestly, she's probably the most of the reason why I got through it.
Wow. Yeah, I can relate to that, because I thought a lot about my sister. Yeah, I thought a lot about my sister. Really, I thought about my sister first, and then I thought about my mom.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I thought about my sister. I didn't think about nobody else. It was really just my sister. I always, like, think of Zoe.
Yeah, it's like that bond. You like, yeah, I couldn't just leave you here and deal with what's going what's gonna come behind me not being here anymore. Yeah, I definitely understand that. So, how did you manage to hide what you were going through, and what helped you cope?
I hid it through the.
Oh, it says pause.
Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah. But I think I hid it mostly through the drinking, because like at that point in time in my life, like I spent majority of it drunk anyways. So I felt like if I was to stay sober, then somebody would know something was wrong. Because that was not a character for me in that like point in time. So like I hid it through the drinking and the constant partying. Granted, there was a couple of times I like literally stormed out of those parties. I don't know if you ever noticed, but like I did. Like I left.
Yeah, you were MIA.
And I dip out for a little bit because I had to gather my bearings. And then I would either come back, or honestly, a couple of them times I like ran into other people and I would be, chilling or hanging out with them or whatever. But yeah, no, I hid it mostly through the partying. Because it was rare that I ever went home, but when I went home, that gave me that time to kind of just like shed everything that I was feeling for the time being, or whatever, or at least for a little bit. And then I would come back, not as new, because I was still feeling the things that I was feeling, but I felt like I could carry more of it. Because I wasn't in a safe space then to be able to do those things, to like cry how I needed to, or process how I needed to, because the thing that was bothering me the most was constantly in my face.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing about being in college. Like if your source of frustration or mental instability is right there at school with you, and you live on campus, you got to go to class. I don't know if it may be different for people who didn't live on campus.
I didn't live on campus, remember?
That is true. You did for a portion of time.
That entire year that I'm telling you about all of this depression, I was not a resident.
Oh, yeah, because that was after you left.
I wasn't a resident, but I felt like I had to stay on campus because there was constantly somebody in my ear saying, like, you need to, because how else you going to get to school?
Yeah.
And it was true. Like, I didn't have no other way. Uber cost me $100 a week just to get to school, and that was one way.
And you was working part-time.
Yeah. I was working 2 jobs part-time, and that did not cover nearly any of the expense. So it was much cheaper for me to, just do what I had to do to stay on campus. And whenever I was like, all right, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go home, there was that voice again saying, like, all right, but how you gonna get back? When really, if I had opened up my eyes, or if I wasn't in such a depression, I'm just calling it what it was, I would have realized that there was people that was willing to help me because they had done it in the past. I just was not. I felt like I was a burden, so I didn't want to continue to burden them. But they had done it before, on a couple occasions, and they had constantly offered to. I just didn't want to put them in that position to keep having to. But I guess I didn't have to be in that situation. But again, I was so consumed with the thoughts and the emotions that I was feeling that I failed to see that. Honestly, I think I'm just now realizing it.
Yeah. As adults, it's such a different perspective now.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like this conversation could go on and on and on. And I do not doubt. Yeah. I do not doubt that there could even be a part 2, 3, 4, 5 to just mental series. Right, yes, just mental health alone, college edition, because it is something about college that will really challenge you to grow. It will really stretch you, and you will literally feel like, what am I doing? Yeah. And I think we masked it so well sometimes. And then other times we were...
I think those times when we was talking about how we was lashing out, those were those moments when we wasn't holding it as well together anymore. Like those moments where we needed to like let go of something. But nobody really looked at it for like what it was. They were just like, oh, she's tripping again.
Yeah, she's tripping.
or something like that. But they didn't realize that at that point, the lashing out was the breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the cry for help.
And the thing is, I believe it's true. You can have a lot of breaking points if you're fragile.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that a lot of us were fragile and we didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure all of us had something going on because it was a group of us.
Yeah, like a big group of us too.
Yeah, a big group of us. Like we could break off into sections sometimes.
You had like subgroups.
Yeah, and then when we all came together, the place was packed. So we could definitely be around each other and turn up and have fun. But that didn't mean that those same people was always there sitting next to you, trying to support you through what you're going through. Because even a lot of times, those same people would be like, oh, I got you, to your face. But then behind your back, it's a story and it's fabrication about what's really going on with you. You know, especially if you've already shared a little bit about what you're going through. And I think sometimes that pushes people to want to cover up what's really going on because then you don't want to be labeled as crazy or
and I think that happened a lot of times.
Yeah, it really did. And to know that some of those people that made college so difficult sometimes, you would never get an apology from them.
Yeah,
had to learn, like, coming up through adulthood, that it is what it is. You have to heal regardless of if anybody that hurt you ever admits that they actually hurt you. Yeah. And then we didn't know terms like, we didn't really use the terms like you're a manipulator or you're a narcissist or, this is abuse mentally, physically, verbally,
all of that.
Yeah. So we didn't really have a way to
classify or categorize it. We just knew that something not right here, but we don't know how to describe it or explain it besides telling the story that we didn't want to tell.
Yeah. And then you even have cases where, like you said, you want it to be, you want it to continue, sort of like, well, you say you had a moment where you didn't want to be here, but you saw a side that was like, okay, well, I can get out of this. You saw, the light at the end of the tunnel. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe that you can have multiple breaking points, because during my breaking points, I thought there is no light at the end of the tunnel, So, and a lot of people don't know that, but I think it's very important to say that because you don't have to go sit on a couch and talk to a therapist to realize that something may not be right. If you're having thoughts that I don't really know if I want to do this anymore, but I knew when I was experiencing those thoughts, I wanted somebody to help me. Sometimes, not all times, because when I wanted somebody to help me and the people that I chose to help me weren't really helpers.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and that's when I got real silent too.
Yeah, so you kind of just had to deal with it on your own. But other times, like literally, I would shut the blinds, shut my door, not go to class, not eat. Was only awake long enough to cry and force myself to go back to sleep.
Is that why you took all those naps?
You know what?
Because napping is a sign of depression.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I kind of just enjoyed napping, and I knew that I was tired a lot because of the way I studied and because of all the other things that I was involved in, and I think I always needed to recharge.
That makes sense.
Because even it's interesting that you asked me that though, because as an adult, I don't nap nearly.
That's exactly why
as
I asked, because the other day when you was like, yeah, I just woke up from a nap, I was like, you what?
Right.
Like,
right.
Because you haven't napped in a while.
Yeah.
So when you said it, it just kind of, that's what I was like, let me ask her if that's why.
Wow, yeah. Because that's true. In college, I was infamous for napping. Like, people
she
knew.
Could not function without a nap. Like, she catch an attitude. We'd be like, dang, what's wrong? She'd be like, y'all, I ain't have my nap today. We'd be like, oh, okay. Like, oh, okay, that's what it is. There it is.
Facts. I do think that I was tired a lot. Always feeling like I was carrying something. Even if, nobody felt like they was handing me anything, I always felt like I was carrying something.
Yeah, there was like a burden or something.
Yeah, because I'm first generation college student. I don't know the first thing about any of this. I'm literally learning it. Yeah. And trying to figure it out, coming from a home where, my mom didn't go to college initially. She did, later in the years when me and my sister were like in high school, but she didn't know a lot of things that I had to learn, and then first time being away from family and stuff, and coming from, I actually transferred, and that's how we met, but the first school that I went to, it just ain't work out. Like my grades were good and stuff like that, but the social aspect of it got really, really shifty. Like realizing people were fake, realizing that, too many people, were trying to attach themselves to me.
So kind of like what happened in the end.
Yeah. And I started like backing out and spending a lot of time by myself. And for some reason, people don't like when you do that. When you try to stay to yourself, it's almost like if you don't give them anything, they're going to look for it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm typically, mindful about, who I really let into the deepest parts of me. And so I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm not sharing my deepest secrets, and I really don't trust y'all, so I'm not sharing even the surface of it. And I literally was going to class and going to my room and working, and there was really nothing else to it. And I didn't allow people to get to know me anymore. And so people started to create narratives,
that makes sense.
And I think that happened with you too.
A little bit.
Yeah. So we say all that to say, that it's totally okay to, feel those emotions when they come. I know we sort of live in a time now where people want you to suppress things, and don't really want you to, go through those emotions. It's more like, well, let me see how I can motivate you. Let me see how I can, help you to feel better and do better and get to this money. When sometimes you really just need rest.
Yeah, you need rest, or you need to cry, or, you need to do whatever it is to release that emotion. You can't keep bottling it up, because if you keep feeling something in the bottle just going to fill up.
That's true.
And at that point, you can't do nothing but either open the lid and let it out, or keep the lid closed, and then it's just no burst.
That's true. That's very true. That's something to meditate on, y'all. For real.
You know what I think is crazy? How we were both RAs, and we all learned the signs for ill mental health.
I know where you're going,
yeah. And you know where I'm going with this, but we learned all the signs for like ill mentalities, and we still went through it, and none of us even realized it.
The textbook.
Like, we learned this stuff. Like, we had an entire training on it, and not just a little hour or two. It was like a whole day's worth of training. Where we talked about mental health. They had us watching videos and talking about, here are some of the signs when you see people not socializing as much, or they're drawn into themselves, or they're giving all of their stuff away, or again, my much money. I need some reparations, y'all. I'm a little hurt about this much money. But just all these different signs. Yeah. And we was exhibiting some of those, like hearing her talk and just hearing myself talk. I'm like, yo, we was literally showing textbook definition signs of these different things: depression, anxiety, whatever. And none of us even noticed, or at least the people that might have noticed weren't really the people that should have been noticing.
The people who were trained to notice didn't even notice.
That's
because
crazy.
We weren't just hanging with just anybody. We were hanging with people that were also
literally
our age.
trained to notice.
Literally trained to
Dang,
notice.
if y'all watching, don't feel bad.
But that's facts. That's really facts. That they don't teach you that in class though. That these may be some signs, but you may be going through your own stuff and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
You don't even realize what somebody else got going on because you got your own bag you trying to carry.
Believe it or not, there's only one RA that I know for a fact that noticed because he said something about it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And
Out of 40
Henry,
of us.
And it was Henry.
Oh, of course. Of course he would know.
Henry's sweet. He came in there one time. I was cussing on the phone with my best friend like I was heated. You know, the top flew off. I ain't opened it, it flew off. And he saw me and he was like, "Is everything okay?" I tried to lie, but it didn't work. Cause how you just go from seeing somebody cussing somebody out, to and he actually like talked to me a little bit, and I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better. Close the top back up. I was like, thanks, Henry. Pat him back. And
Right. Yeah. It's crazy.
About it.
That's good. That's good that he understood it and he supported you through that.
No,
it's not everybody has that.
Henry has graduated because Henry has helped me plenty of times.
Well, shouts out to Henry.
Shouts out to Henry.
Wow. Yeah. Don't let, if you're going through something in your mind, because your mind can be your worst enemy.
No,
don't let nobody tell you tripping. Don't let nobody tell you crazy.
At all. Don't let nobody label you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's something that'll happen. Like, they'll just dismiss you and be like, oh, she's always like this. Or, oh, she always gets upset. Or, oh, she's just a crazy ex. Or, oh, she just, like, if she don't take her nap, then she catch attitude or whatever. So don't let people label what you got going on.
Yeah. That's so true. Because at the end of the day, if they really care, they would ask. They're not going to sit around trying to label you. And even like, well, we're talking about college, so like a lot of us, that was the first time we ever even got to a point where we actually had to process things mentally, physically, emotionally, without the help of family and friends. So it could definitely be challenging if you're not ready for that. And I can honestly say I wasn't ready.
No, neither was I.
I didn't feel ready at all.
I didn't get ready. It's actually quite sad. I didn't get ready to actually face the challenges until at least September of 2018.
Wow.
Because I was still doing the same things. I just thought that if I did the things differently, I would get the results that I wanted. I'm a little neurotic. I try to control things. I don't like there being variables that I can't control. So like, instead, I kind of think like I learned based off of the past experiences. So I'm like, okay, well, in the past I did this and it didn't go that way. So maybe if I do this instead, it'll go the way that I want. And so I kept playing with the same experiment, just tweaking the ingredients. And eventually it went nowhere that I wanted to, which actually I'm a lot thankful for now. Thank you, Jesus. But
God, that bullet girl.
But I played with it and tweaked it and tried and all this other stuff, and it did not end up the way that I wanted it to. At one point I had found peace, like genuine peace, and I was happy and I was moving on in life and just being happy and no longer feeling that like cloud of sadness or depression or upset or confusion or whatever. And then I'm done. So I tried to tweak it. I was like, maybe if I just experiment one more time. Maybe I added too much of this the last time. Maybe if I take a little bit back and add some more of this instead. And that time the experiment, like, it blew up. And so at that point, it took me a minute because then I got mad. I was disappointed with myself. Not that the experiment, quote unquote, failed, but the fact that, I was like, you were in a good place and you just couldn't leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
So it took me until 2018, maybe even 2019, before I had gotten better.
Yeah. I can agree with that because I think it was the same for me. I was always trying to tweak something.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that earlier today where it was kind of like if it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, then I found something somewhere to get what I needed for that moment. And
you know, it's funny, I remember you saying that to me once, like during one of those school years. I was like, okay, now that makes sense.
Yeah, because mine came out in friendships and relationships. If it was not going how I wanted it to go, then I'm like, okay, well, we're no longer together. We're no longer friends. You don't do it, somebody else will. And sort of just kind of trying to replace that void, you know, constantly trying to find something to fill that void, whether it was alcohol, drugs, relationships, like anything, bad habits, whatever it was. Ice at one point.
Girl, not the ice was filling the void.
Girl, it had to have been.
But you don't eat ice like that anymore?
I don't have no void.
No, I'm just saying, you don't eat ice like that?
I haven't ate ice like that in years.
You just anemic or something.
I haven't ate ice like that in
it
years.
Was I
have an addictive
personality.
So do I. Yeah, so when all that stuff was going on, like looking back, I realized I had so many habits back then.
Yeah.
That it was really just like you said, it's a sense of control. I knew that, okay, well, I can get ice. And y'all, like, legit, if somebody went to a store, went to McDonald's, like, or QT, and they didn't bring me back no ice, I'm like, I equate that with you wasn't thinking about me. That's a problem for me. You know, like,
when y'all had that big bag of Sonic ice?
Yeah. Yeah, but I really would I would latch on to stuff like that, and I would take it personally when I didn't get what I needed.
That makes sense.
And so, I spent a lot of time being addicted to a lot of things. And
I have that same thing, but it's not with materials. Mine is with people. So like I have an addictive personality when it comes to like people. So when like I fall out with somebody, so like for example, when I fell out with somebody back then, it really threw me through a loop. And I was very confused. I didn't know how to like really process that because then the manner in which the friendship ended, I felt like I constantly had to look over my shoulder because it was like also a sense of betrayal. And it's like, well, dang, we was close like this almost. Like, how could you even, even consider doing something like that? Like,
without thinking you was gonna get beat
up. Not beat up, come on.
Well, that's the way I handled it. She was so zen about it. She kind of handled it better, but
yeah, Joy be ready she was ready always. And it's always crazy because whenever she wasn't ready to fight, I was. And when she was ready to fight, I wasn't. We could never click off. And I think that was God's way of doing that.
Protecting us, yes.
If we both was ready to fight at the same time, we would have tore
tearing it up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we definitely would have been out of there.
We would have, like, and then this would probably be a completely different conversation.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So no, that was like divine protection. Had to be.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying, okay, so the question was, is an addictive personality like the person is addicted to you? Okay, so I'm gonna answer that in two parts. No, but people were addicted to me, and that's not in a an arrogant way. Yeah, it was energy and also like personality, because I'm naturally upbeat, you know, and so I got along with people that I didn't allow too close to me pretty well, you know, like when we go out to the bar, I'm the one like shots, you know, and people are coming over like, what y'all drinking?
We getting free drinks, and she like, here, drink this, and I'm like, where'd it come from?
And I'm literally like, making moves just with my personality, not even on purpose. And so people got addicted to me. And then when those bad parts about me came out, well, I don't want to say bad, but those parts that were not so bubbly came out, people were so used to seeing the bubbly part of me that they wouldn't necessarily leave me alone. It was more so like, it's easier to just say you're crazy or that you're tripping and let me see how I can get you to calm down, but I'm going to still talk to you. I'm going to still deal with you.
They never tried to deal with the root of the issue. They just kind of tried to satiate it for them.
Yep. Yep. So, but as far as the addictive personality on my side, I was just saying how I had a lot of things that I was addicted to, a lot of habits that weren't um, necessarily healthy, and they were just voids. I was just trying to fill voids with those patterns of behavior or those things that I became addicted to. Yeah. What else? Is there anything else?
I'm trying to think. What were you saying? Oh, did we talk about the ways to cope?
No.
So, like, how were some of the ways that you coped? I'm curious.
Okay, so yeah, also, as I mentioned, the drinking and the other stuff that I partook in. Like you said, sleeping. And because actually, like, when I was really at my lowest, I would sleep the most. Because literally it would just spill out of me. I remember one day I was I had been dating this guy, and you know, I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful, and he turned out to be nothing. And
As most guys are.
yeah, and so I remember leaving class, and I'm pretty sure I had like another class or two to go to that day. I hit my teacher up and was like, I don't feel good, I ain't coming. We had a test that day, and I was just like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. I don't have the mental capacity to even sit in a classroom and try to figure out anything. So I went to my room, I shut my blinds, and it was a beautiful day. Like, I missed that day because of what I was, you know, allowing myself to really like go through. And I say allowing myself because I have not been diagnosed.
Yeah.
You know, and so now that I'm older and I'm through it, I can see that I had a choice to sort of like assess the situation differently, but I was working with what I knew and what I had at that time in my life. And so I got to my room and I shut the blinds, and I didn't think about what I was going to eat. I didn't think about homework. I didn't think about friends. I didn't think about family. I got into my room and I curled up and I put the covers over my head and I slept. I just slept. And whenever I woke up, which I probably woke up maybe every, I would say maybe 3 to 4 hours. Literally the minute I opened my eyes, tears. It was no emotion associated with it. It wasn't like, well, I'm sitting up and I'm thinking about things and so I'm crying and I'm sad. No, literally, like, I will open my eyes and it was already like I had been crying in my sleep or something, because the minute I would open my eyes, the tears would start rolling. And because I didn't want to keep dealing with that, because it happened like at least 2 to 3 times. Because like I said, I woke up every 3 to 4 hours. And so once I realized, I'm like, I can't freaking even keep my eyes open without crying. And then there's no emotion associated with it. Like, what is going on? I don't even want to be awake. And so I remember waking up the next morning. I spent the whole day in bed. And then I remember waking up the next morning, literally afraid to go through the day. You know, like,
yeah, I understand that feeling.
I can't hold myself together is what I was thinking. You know, I don't want anybody to come to me. And mind you, I worked on campus, so I wasn't really in a space to go out emotionally unkempt. You know, I had to get myself together. I had to put on that strength, if you will, so that nobody could see me crumbling, because I had other people I was responsible for. And so I had to, you know, as terrified as I was to go through the day, because I don't want anybody to come up to me and I have a certain look on my face or something and somebody says, are you okay?
Because then the moment somebody asks that question, all of it just comes out.
You know, and I'm like, I already can't keep it together when it's just me.
Why would you ask me that?
You know? So yeah. That was another way that I coped, sleeping. I think definitely the lashing out. Did I cope any other ways? Staying into my work. Yeah. try not to be around big crowds all the time. Just keeping my head in the books, and people looked at it as studious, and I was really thinking like, well, this is the only thing that's consistent, and I know that I'm not going, I know it's important to me to get these grades, so yeah, I gotta stay in that. And if I go around too many people, they may see what I'm going through, and I can't have that. So I spend a lot of time studying and just looking towards graduation. That's really what helped me, looking towards graduation, because I knew that there was an end. I didn't know what graduation was going to look like, when it was going to come, how I was going to feel when it got there, but I knew that that was the end goal for me. And that helped me alongside thinking about my sister and my mom, mainly them two, and just using that as MO to push through. And actually once I got to my senior year and it was getting closer to me graduating, I knew that I had been so broke down over those years in college, like emotionally, physically, mentally unstable, honestly. That I remember standing in my room thinking, when I graduate and I have to go out into this world by myself and be an adult, this world is gonna eat me up and spit me out. I remember saying that to myself clear as day, and I knew that if I didn't figure something out, that whole image in my head of like, I literally used to envision myself like floating in the clouds, because that's where I wanted to be, and I said, if I don't figure out what I'm gonna do to survive, that's where I'll be, and so I had to have that moment to say, I need help. I can't do this by myself, because everybody else looking at me like I'm super strong and I got it together. And I'm like, no, like it may look that way, but I'm really falling apart, to be quite honest, and nobody could understand is how I felt, because whenever I would try to talk about it, nobody understood. They called me crazy, so or they just said I had a bad attitude. And that's not to negate that I did, but my attitude is nowhere near what it is today as what it was back then. I'm so much more humble. And so that turning point for me was going back to church, going back to my roots, because prior to then I wasn't really, spiritual. I went to church like when I was much younger, but middle school on up, we didn't go to church anymore. So I was like, well, let me try it out. Let me see. Let me talk to the big man upstairs and see if he's still watching out for the kid. And so I did that, and it was not easy. I still struggled. But I had a leader, if you will. Okay. I had somebody that I can look to instead of feeling like I gotta look within, because I gotta keep it together for people behind me. I'm like, okay, well, if y'all looking up to me, then I gotta look up to him. Because people would always say that, like, oh, Jory, I look up to you. And I'm like, for what? I remember y'all used to say that all the time, like, Jory, when I want to be like you when you grow up. And I'm like,
because you be studying, it seemed like you had all your priorities in line. Granted, now we know better. But, like, it seemed like you genuinely did. And I guess for me, who was, like, literally crumbling, like, doing any and everything was a chore for me. So, like, mind you, like I said, I didn't live on campus. I slept on somebody's couch.
Yeah.
So, like, getting up to go to work 3 stories above me. One story above me was like the biggest chore in the world. Like, it was so hard for me to get out of bed some days. Like, it was like to the point where like I would wake up the next morning and be like, damn. So for somebody like that, seeing you out here doing your work and still managing to, you know, like study and party and like have like this social life and everything like that. It was like, dang, that's who I want to be. Right there.
And she didn't even know your girl going through the same thing she was going through, just through a different lens.
Yeah.
Let me see what he said. That's normal. We attach to things that give us comfort. Yes, we all are finding our way and trying to enjoy life. It's not necessarily bad. We just trying to make sense of it all. You're either choosing to discipline yourself to God's word or just things this consciousness allows us to appreciate. Yes, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Trying to find comfort. And now we've grown so much. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, regardless. It really is. We did enjoy college. It wasn't that we didn't enjoy college, because we definitely turned up.
Yes.
And college definitely brought us to a place.
Videos, everything.
Oh, girl, yeah. Them memories when they come up on Snap
like,
or Facebook. Yeah, we definitely enjoyed college, but there are some things that we didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to talk about what we did enjoy, so that if somebody else has experienced or is experiencing what we went through or something similar, that they can know that it's a light at the end of the tunnel. And you can
and
definitely
they're not
make
alone
it through
in it either. Because I think that was part of the issue. Like, we all was going through something alone, when really we did not have to be.
Yeah.
Because we were all going through something. So.
Yeah. And don't stay latched on to people who make you feel like you don't need to be heard. Who make you feel like whenever you say something or you do something, it is beneath them. You know, you want to be around people who love you and support you and appreciate you.
Try to understand.
Yep. Even if they've never experienced what you're experiencing, they can still be a source of light, a source of positivity, because we didn't know that each other was going through all this stuff as close as we were. But I can also, you know, think that our friendship helped in some ways.
Better, yeah. That definitely did. I think so, because, like, you know, while we was going through all this dark stuff, we still found some way and some reason to laugh and joke and smile. And those, like, little moments of happiness, even if they were brief, were enough to, like, keep us anchored down.
Yeah. Helping you to be able to survive another moment. Yep. So ask your friends, are they okay? It's okay.
Right, just send a text message. Hey, just checking in.
Yep. Check on them. Make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, don't just, you know, take time and space as you need, you know, but also remember that people see you, that they love you, that they care about you, and your existence is important. So, anything else you got?
We love you guys.
It's 8:30. Yep. So, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned.
Bye. That was so cute.